Hello and welcome to another ACH demo session. Before we kick off, I just want to give you the kind of setup. So we were running a meeting and I asked for two volunteers, one to be the client and one to be the therapist. Charia was straight in there and said, I'd love to be the client. And Tawny said, yep, I'm happy to be the therapist. There was no discussion about the subject matter. There was no discussion about how I wanted this to happen. It was completely natural, organic and unrehearsed. What I'll be doing is I'll be stopping the video from time to time to highlight something that I think is interesting you should notice if you didn't pick it up already. What I'd love you to look out for are what I'd love you to let me say that again. What I'd love you to look out for is how the therapist repeats back certain words and phrases that the client uses, and some of the stories and the metaphors that come out of absolutely nowhere. And I'd love you to tell me how you could script this. So without further ado, let's kick off.
Okay, great. Hi, first of all, Chira? Is that how I pronounce your name?
I said Charia.
Charia.
Yeah.
Charia. Pleasure to meet you.
You too?
Thank you. So anyway, you can just start off the standard way. What's the problem?
Well, the one that just popped into my head when I put my hand up was sleep. I have no problem going to sleep whatsoever. I just kind of within 10 minutes, or sometimes even 5, head on the pillow, bonk. But then it doesn't happen every night, but I would say at least 2 or 3 times, well, 2 times and sometimes 3 times a week. I wake up about 1:30 and I'm awake until about sometimes 4:30. I just can't get, and I've tried, I've done all that, don't stay in bed, do something different, all of that. And I'm just wide awake. And then I get really, really tired. And then I can kind of snuggle down into bed again, into sleep again. And I sleep till my normal wake up time, which is always about 5:30. And it never, it's like those days that follow, I'm kind of really bleary eyed. Yeah. So it's a real pain in the arse, basically. And I've tried everything I can think of, but something else is going on.
Okay, so make sure I just understand right. So your problem is with sleep, certain number of times a week, 3 or so, you wake up at about 1 o'clock and you're not able to get sleep till 4 or 5, and it kind of ruins the rest of your day.
Yeah.
So can you see here how the client has given her conscious conclusion about the problem, what's actually going on and why it's such a pain, and how instantly Tawny, our therapist, repeats back to get confirmation that she's understood what the client has said.
Okay. What are you experiencing when you wake up?
When I wake up, it's become such a habitual, like a regular thing, not habitual. I just go, oh God, it's one of those nights, and then I just kind of, the expectation of what it's going to be like kind of kicks in. And it's almost like I've developed some kind of weird routine when that happens.
You developed
it's
a weird routine.
Yeah, I kind of wake up really like wide awake, yeah. And then it's just like, oh, it's going to be another one of those nights. So I get up, walk about a bit, I come downstairs, I read a book, I do, all the stuff that those sleepy people tell you to do. And eventually I get tired and I go back to sleep, and eventually I'll just drop off to sleep again. But again, I don't make up for that sleep with a longer sleep. It just kind of still wakes the regular time.
But you've developed this weird routine.
Yeah.
When you wake up. So is that a habit of thought?
It could be, I suppose, because I do tend to think like, oh my God, it's one of those nights again.
When you feel, oh my God, it's one of those nights, where do you experience that, or how do you experience that in your body?
I don't know if I kind of feel it in my body, actually. I'm not aware, like I'm trying to think like it happened the night before last. And I'm kind of thinking, I don't have a sense that it's just like a mental thing going on.
It's a mental thing going
Yeah.
on. How do you experience that mental thing going on?
It's almost like a disappointment, frustration, stroke. Here we go again kind of thought. You know, there's a sense of like, oh, you know, when something happens you don't want to happen, and there it is again. Oh, yeah.
So you experience disappointment, and there it is again.
Yeah.
What other thoughts do you have when you experience this disappointment?
I kind of have, I suppose I'm going to take my glasses off actually because they're getting on my nose. I kind of have a sort of, not even I hope I can get back to sleep. It's almost like I have an expectation by then that I'm going to be awake for 3 hours at least. Yeah.
So you're disappointed and you have an expectation.
Yeah.
This will go on.
Yeah.
Mm. So that's how you relate to this habit of
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
Mm. What other ways do you experience this disappointment?
What, in my life generally, do you mean? Or about the sleep?
Either, whatever comes to your mind.
I don't have anything going on in my life that seems to be that feeling. Actually, my life is pretty jolly and pretty much the way I want it. Actually, I'm kind of satisfied, happy-go-lucky kind of a person. It's really, it first started when I was in my menopause, and it's a very typical thing I know in menopause, but it just carried on for me. I'd never had the problem before. It started then, and then it carried on forever since then. It's a long time ago now. But the disappointment thing is only about that. It's a disappointment that, oh, I'm waking up again, so the following day is going to be like a bit foggy. I'm going to do everything I need to do or want to do, but it's going to be a bit like I've got to put some effort in to keep myself up.
You have to put effort to keep yourself up?
Yeah, during the day. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, not during the, no, during the day. The day that follows one of these nights is kind of, it's going to be like I have to make more effort to do whatever I'm going to do and be up than like alert than I would normally. I never normally have to think about being alert.
So you're feeling you're already worrying about the next day.
Yeah. Yeah.
What other thoughts could you have about the next day?
What you mean if I was to make up some other thoughts, or just asking me, do I have any other thoughts?
Again, what comes to your heart or your mind?
I mean, I have tried like visualization and positive thinking and just going, oh, it really doesn't matter, it's going to be fine. None of that ever works.
So our client confirms that she's tried lots of different things to resolve this issue, and none of it has worked. And whilst I've paused the video, have you noticed the number of times that the client used the word disappointment, and also the number of unconscious moments that Charia is experiences as she discusses this issue with the therapist?
None of that ever works.
No. I just get this sense of, it really is this sense of disappointment. It's not frustration really, it's just disappointment. Oh, here we go again kind of feeling, thought. And the feeling is, okay, I'm going to have to kind of amuse myself in some way or another till I really get ready and I can just go back to sleep again.
You're going to amuse yourself and you have a disappointed thought. Um, how do you amuse yourself?
How do I amuse myself? Normally, I read. I get out of bed. I come downstairs, read a bit, keep it very quiet, keep the lighting very low, drink things like chamomile tea in the hope that that might do something. And then eventually I begin to I get sort of a bit drowsy, and then I go back to bed. I've noticed that if I stay in bed, it doesn't make any difference. Actually, because I'm not, what's also interesting, I suppose, I've just said this kind of thing popped into my head. I don't really enjoy being in bed.
How on earth can you have a good night's sleep if you don't enjoy being in bed? How can you enjoy a good night's sleep if you don't enjoy being in bed? The next few minutes, Charia goes into or discovers the reasons why that's been a factor.
Don't enjoy being in bed.
No, I don't. I just find it like, I don't really get why people love lazing in bed for hours. I've never really done that. And
Where did that belief come from?
since my childhood, since not, well, early on, we all got up very early in my house because my dad was a bricklayer and my mum was a cleaner, and my mum used to take me to all the places where she cleaned when I was very young. So, and she would start at 6 a.m, so we left very early. That was always the programming. And then later on in my late about 10 till about 16, I was a kind of competitive swimmer. So I was in the pool by 6 o'clock every morning. So it's kind of, that's been my pattern. I know I've woken up early to the frustration of every bloke I've ever been with forever since then. And so the waking up thing isn't a problem, but there is this sense of I don't really like being in bed that much, you know. So when I do wake up, I don't have a sense of I want to snuggle in. You know, I feel like I want to get out of bed and then go back to bed after.
So you feel you have to get out of bed, and you've had this programming from a young age from your family and other things you've done,
Yeah.
or beliefs about getting up early.
Yeah.
So we have the confirmation of where the problem originates, but we still don't have the root cause or the main thing that's causing Charia to not have good night's sleep every night of the week.
My mother, she's a person that kind of, you know, she just bandies all those sayings around that she's said all of her life. And one of them, that the kind of, there is a kind of a thing that used to kind of run around the house, was like somewhere when you were in bed at any time at all, you were being lazy, and also early to bed, early to rise, all that kind of stuff. You know, those kind of a very moral judgment, I think, about being in bed, which I don't know if I have, but maybe I do.
A very moral judgment about remaining in bed.
Yeah.
How true is that moral judgment for you?
Well, intellectually, I think it's rubbish, but whether that's going on somewhere, whether that's still a program kind of running underneath all of this, I don't know.
Might be worth it to think about that, how true that could be for you.
It would be really disappointing to me if it was, to be honest, talking about disappointment, because it could be.
Well, I'm just curious, how is that disappointing for you?
Because I don't want that belief. I don't want that thing running me. Like, there are loads of those kind of family beliefs that I've worked on over the years, and they were kind of fading away. most of them aren't there anymore.
Sure.
But this
So,
one, I've never
mhm,
really thought of it in those terms, actually.
mhm. So you have these family beliefs. Some of them have faded away, but still there's this disappointment.
Yeah,
And you'd be disappointed to know if that belief, that moral belief about arising early is still there.
yeah, I would. I would.
Mhm.
I mean, I am actually, because like it kind of makes sense that that might be something to do with it. But
It might have something to do with it.
yeah, I mean, I'm open to that idea.
You're open.
Yeah,
How does being open to that idea right now feel for you? Right
disappointing.
now?
There's that word again, disappointing, but look what's happened. How Klein has suddenly closed her eyes and gone into this beautiful unconscious moment, which, if I remember correctly, lasts for the next 10, 15 minutes or so.
Disappointed. How do you feel that disappointment?
I want to be beyond all of that shit. You know, I don't want that contamination of that kind of, those kind of Victorian moral values. They don't sit with me very well. And I've kind of expunged and worked on and cleaned out, you know, loads of them. But
You don't want that contamination of those
no,
values.
no.
Mm, mm, okay. But who knows how they can stick around? They're kind of sneaky.
Yeah, they creep in the middle of the
Yeah.
night like gremlins.
Yeah. They creep in like gremlins in the middle of the night.
They do. They do.
So you can just think about those.
Where on earth did gremlins come from? As a metaphor straight out of our client's subconscious mind, with no suggestions, no inputting ideas from the therapist, just purely directly from the client's unconscious.
Gremlins in the middle of the night,
Yeah,
creeping in,
waking me up.
waking you up.
Yeah. You know what just came to me just then? I thought, telling me I'm not being a good girl.
Those gremlins are
Poke,
telling you you're not
yeah,
a good girl.
they're poking me to wake up.
Mm. They're poking
Because
you to wake
you
up.
know what? When it, I've just real when it mostly happens is when I go to bed quite early. I mean, I tend to go to bed early, but I go to bed earlier than normal. Then I wake up, and I go to bed earlier than normal because I'm tired. This is why I go to bed earlier. So it's a bit like, is I don't know. I just got this sense of like these bloody gremlins are poking me. They're like pixies, you know. They're like little elves. These
Mm.
gremlins, and they poke me and say, "You've been asleep long enough, you lazy girl. Get up." It's kind of that feeling because I wake up like the alarm's gone off, and it hasn't. I'm wide awake.
Mm. Those gremlins poking you.
Did you see that massive sigh after she had the realization that there's the gremlins, there's the pixies that are poking her and telling her she's a naughty, lazy girl for staying asleep in bed? I wonder where that came from.
Yeah, isn't that
Gremlins.
weird?
It's not weird.
It seems weird to me.
Mm. Maybe it is weird in a good way. Who knows?
Maybe. I wish they'd go away. I wish they wouldn't do it. I don't want to wake up.
Wish they go away.
Yeah, I
Wish
wish.
the gremlins would go away.
Yeah,
Wish those gremlins would go away.
just remembered something else as well, actually, about sleeplessness. Years ago, when I was in the menopause again, well, not again, but when I was in the menopause, um, I read a book by Germaine Greer called The Change. Yeah. And in it, she talked about this kind of little story. I'd forgotten all about it. She talked about how common it is for women to have these sleepless nights. And I went through my menopause a long time ago, and it wasn't really talked about very much. And very few people really talked about the sleepless nights. And there was a theory that the stories of all those, the elves that did all the work during the night and left like clean, that fairy story where they leave clean shoes and mended shoes and everything outside the door. Actually, it wasn't gremlins at all. It was all these women who were up all night creeping about doing jobs.
All the women up all night creeping about doing these jobs.
Doing all these jobs very quietly, then sneaking back into bed, pretending they'd been asleep all night.
Pretending they'd been asleep, but they hadn't.
Yeah, they hadn't.
Are you like that gremlin, getting up at night, doing all these things?
I'm a bit. Sometimes I bake bread in the middle of the night. It's really boring being awake when everything's dark. I don't dislike the dark, but I'm not happy. I'm not sitting around going woohoo. Some people love the nighttime, don't they? I'm a daytime person. So
You're
it's
a daytime person.
Boring.
You're awake, and there's these gremlins.
Yeah.
And just like that book you read.
Yeah, just like that book.
Getting up in the middle of the night, doing all these things.
Yeah. I just love to go to bed and sleep and then wake up in the morning. Wonderful. Be great.
Just go to bed and sleep.
Yeah.
Full night's sleep. Full night's sleep.
All night.
All night.
No gremlins.
No more gremlins.
No more gremlins. They can go and make other people's shoes. Not mine. I don't need their poking and helping and whatever they're supposed to be doing. I'd like to be one of those really lazy people who just lazes around and sleeps with no problem whatsoever, no guilt, no anything about it.
Just sleep without guilt.
Yeah.
No anything.
Yes.
Sleep without guilt.
Absolutely.
Sleep without guilt. So if we go back to early on in this demo, Jari was talking about how her parents were up early for work, how she got up early to go and swim in the pool every single morning, and how her mum used metaphors about lazy people staying in bed and how people that like going to bed at night were lazy. Now Jari is starting to have the realization that she doesn't want to be that person anymore. Not just consciously, but subconsciously.
Absolutely. Sleep without guilt.
I never go there.
Never realised I felt guilty about sleep, to be honest, but I do now. I do realise it now.
So you can just think right now deeply about sleeping without guilt. There you go. Think just nicely, thoroughly about sleep without guilt.
Notice how Tawny uses that phrase sleep without guilt to help our client go wherever she needs to go, deeply subconscious, to resolve the issue that she's been facing.
Bit by bit.
It feels like a kind of almost like a weight lifting off of me, off my shoulders, a bit like, everything can kind of drop.
Everything can kind of drop.
Yeah.
A weight off your shoulders. Everything can kind of drop.
Yeah. I feel really, really relaxed right now. Really, really like physically like, yeah.
Yeah. Sleep without guilt. It's a good thought.
It's a wonderful thought.
Yeah. It's a weight off your shoulders.
Yeah.
Sleep without guilt. All the ways you can sleep without guilt.
Mm.
What happened there?
It's just, it just seems such a daft idea to be feeling guilty about sleeping. But yeah,
Mhm. It is kind of a dark idea.
yeah.
Hmm. How do you feel about that dark idea right now?
No, I said daft, silly.
Oh, daft. Excuse me. My
So, like a daft,
hearing.
yeah, it's like a
Daft.
daft, yeah,
A daft idea.
yeah.
So, how do you feel about that daft idea right now?
But it is really daft. It's just like, what a sucky thing to think. You know, you need to feel guilty about sleeping, like what I consider to be a really essential part of being healthy. You know, getting
Mhm.
good sleep
And
is really,
good sleep's an essential thing to being healthy.
yeah, it is. It's like one of the basics, you know, water, sleep, food,
Mhm.
whatever.
One of the basics.
Yeah,
And such a silly idea.
yeah. I really don't want that idea anymore. I really, really don't. Because it's a right pain, you know.
You really don't want that silly idea
No,
anymore. You sure?
absolutely sure.
100%.
Yep. I really just want to go, come on, sleep, just do your thing and take me for as long as you like. You know, like no embargoes anywhere, no weird, silly ideas. What's, you know, I don't know, all of that stuff. I just want to be like, I just want to be one of those people, you know, I just want to go to sleep and just bloody enjoy it. That's what I want. Just, and then, you know, sleep until I'm ready to wake up properly, you know, like after 8 hours or something, you know, maybe even 10 sometimes. Whoa, that would be wonderful.
Just sleep and bloody enjoy it.
Yeah.
How's that feel?
It just feels really like a really pleasurable thing.
Hmm.
Why wouldn't anybody want that?
Hmm. Can you give yourself permission to do that?
Yeah. I might need to be very clear with the gremlins for a little while so they get the message.
Mm-hmm. Want to make sure they get the message.
Yeah, I want to make
Very.
sure. Yeah, loud and clear. Yeah. I might write them a little
Kind of.
note in case these turn up. I might leave them a little note outside my bedroom door.
Just a little side note, Charia actually did write 2 notes straight after this and posted photographs of them into our Facebook group.
What message would you give to those gremlins?
Fuck off. You're not
Fuck
wanted.
off.
Yeah, you're not wanted here. Your job is done. Your work is done.
Okay. Can you say that again?
Fuck off. You're not wanted here. Your work is done.
Your work is done.
Yeah. You need never return.
You need never return.
Never, ever, ever, ever. With your little fancy hats and your funny little shoes.
Yeah, with your funny hats and ridiculous shoes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not anymore.
No
Not
more
needed anymore.
needed. No, definitely not needed. Really not needed. They're redundant. They're redundant.
Mm. Okay. You're doing spectacularly. What happened there?
When you said, I think, what did you say? Did you say doing spectacularly or something? That made me
Yes.
laugh. Just funny telling gremlins to fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
He's funny. He's spectacular. Wow.
It's funny. You can just,
You know what? I've got a real picture of him outside my door now, at the top of the stairs outside the door, reading the note, going, "Oh well, fellas, off we go. Then got to find someone else to bugger up now."
sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it does. I really like the idea. I'm definitely going to write that note, definitely, just in case.
Just write that note so you're clear.
I think it would be very symbolic as well to write that note. Like, that is it. The gremlins, be gone. Stay away.
That's it.
Yeah.
Gremlins are gone.
That's gone. They're gone. They're gone. They're out of my life. Don't need them anymore. I never needed them, but they turned up anyway. And I've got to be very clear with them that they don't ever, ever, ever need to come near my abode ever again.
Never come near your abode again.
I really like that word abode, so I might pop that in the note as well.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I really like the idea.
So I have a question for you right now.
Hmm.
How are you feeling about that disappointment?
Tawny does an absolutely superb job just there, going right back to the start and bringing that word disappointment and questioning our client to see if the change has really happened or if there still is some sense of disappointment. Absolutely brilliant work.
It's gone. I don't feel it anymore. I feel very relaxed and very light, kind of light, very light-hearted, and light in my. It's like I've got kind of light in my head, or not. It's like lightness is how I feel. I don't feel any sense of that disappointment. It's just not there.
Lightness is health, and it's not there.
Yeah.
Wow. So, what would happen if you go to sleep and some of those sneaky old thoughts start to kind of try and creep in on you?
Well, I'll accept that that's all old stuff, and it's maybe just memories of gremlins or something, and I'll just go, you know what? Bugger off, relax, just snuggle down. I'm going to snuggle down back into bed and just chillax, really, and just kind of expect myself to go back to sleep, because people do wake up and go back to sleep, don't they? They don't all stay to sleep all night long, every single night. People wake up and drop off back again. I can do that.
So you expect yourself to go back to sleep.
Yeah, just rather than expecting myself to stay awake, now I'm going to expect myself to go back to sleep, because that just feels like the relaxing, comforting, nourishing, healthy thing to do.
Those are all very beautiful words. Relaxing, comforting, nourishing thing to do.
Mm.
How do those words feel for you at this moment?
They feel lovely. I really want to enjoy sleeping and just relax into sleeping and just feel, yeah, what a lovely thing to do.
Really enjoy sleeping.
Mm.
It's a lovely thing to do.
Mm.
Really enjoy sleeping.
Yeah.
Relaxed and light. Okay.
From now on, I'm going to be one of those people who declares to other people that I just love to sleep, which is like,
Wow.
which
Yeah.
really kind of will rattle my mother incredibly. But that's I don't necessarily want to go shout it to the world, but if it ever came up that people are talking about sleep for whatever reason, I'm going to be that person, or one of those people who says, "Oh, I just love sleeping. It's great," rather than this ooh kind of feeling of, ooh, it's not cool, Yeah.
So you're going to declare to other people.
I am. Yeah, I am. I'm quite into declarations. I kind of like declaring things, because I end up, if I declare it, then I do it. Yeah, that's what happens with me. So I
So
just thought, yeah,
Mhm.
I'm going to
You're gonna
declare that. Yeah,
you're gonna declare it and do it.
yeah.
Declare and do it.
Mm,
Declare and do it.
yeah.
Pretty lovely thoughts.
Yeah.
Spectacular.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. Yeah, definitely. So I just want to know. Um, just do a simple thought here. So that thoughts of disappointment, you wake up again. What thoughts will you have again in your head now? Let's just say you wake up in the middle of the night, 1 o'clock.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to say out loud, I'm one of those people who loves to sleep. I just love sleeping. It's wonderful. And I'm going to go back and lay down and just go back to sleep.
Okay. Lay down. Say how much you love sleep and lay down and
Just
go back to sleep.
back to sleep. And if I don't sleep immediately, that's also fine. I can just lay down, relax, and let sleep just come to me rather than trying to catch it all the time.
Let sleep come to you
Yeah,
rather than catching them. Let
yeah,
sleep come to you.
yeah.
Okay. So, anyway, I think you're doing wonderfully, spectacularly, and sounds like you have a new thoughts, new relationship with sleep.
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah.
Mhm. So, could you do me a favor?
Hmm.
I'm here in Los Angeles. What time is it in the UK right now?
Hang on. Hello, back in the room. Um, 8:15.
7:45. Wow. Okay.
Nearly
So you,
bedtime.
yeah, nearly bedtime.
Yeah, for
I,
me. Yeah.
Tony, you're
mhm.
doing a fabulous job. Can I? So, what happened there was Tony used a very simple demarcation point by asking the client what the time was to bring her back into the room and out of trance. I stepped in here just to ask a couple of other questions because you may have noticed that Tony had been asking kind of testing questions like what will happen if and what are you going to do when, those kind of questions to really make sure the client has dealt with everything. There are no knots left lying around. And I just come in here and ask a couple of more questions just to kind of complete the testing phase. Just ask a couple of quick questions.
Sure.
Um, Joria, you mentioned earlier that you really want to have a good night's sleep. After this work you've done with Tony, is there anything stopping you from doing that?
No, I mean, it's not a wanting anymore. It's more like that's what's going to happen. It's a kind of like there's a kind of mental shift, just like that I said about reaching for sleep and just allowing it to come to me. It's as different as that. It's like I wanted to solve this problem. Now it's like I've. It's just going to happen. And if I wake, then that's fine. I'll just go back to sleep again. I don't have this big, oh my God, I'm awake, which is what sets the whole, or was setting the whole process of staying awake off. That thought, I think, just like as soon as I went, oh, then everything happened after that. Whereas now I think I've got a kind of another thing, a thought to put in that, to override that and just say, make my declaration that I love sleeping. It's really wonderful, and I'm going to go back to sleep and allow it to come to me.
Brilliant. Do you still think that people who like to sleep are lazy people?
No, I admire them terribly. I'm going to be part of that gang now. Ooh, how cool is that?
Excellent. Okay, one final question from me. What is the one tiny little thing you can do today to help you with this? Smallest thing you can do today?
I've got one thing to do today and another thing to do tomorrow. It just came up for me. The thing I'll do today is I'm going to make that declaration before I go to sleep, and I'm going to write the note to the gremlins, definitely. And I should take a screenshot of it and post it in the group.
Brilliant, brilliant.
If I see a
Tony,
gremlin, I'll
sorry.
take a picture of that as well. And the
If-
thing I might do tomorrow is, I don't know, you never know, do you? You never know.
You never
Because
know.
when you believe in these things, sometimes they manifest, don't they? So,
They
and
do.
tomorrow, I speak to my mother at 8:30 on the dot every morning, and I shall tell her that I really love sleeping, because I just think that's a really important thing for me to get over. And just wait, she won't believe me probably, but anyway, I'm going to tell her anyway. So that's the other thing I'm going to do.
Brilliant, brilliant. Tony, you've done an absolutely fabulous job tonight. Have you got any last questions for Charia before we open the floor to everybody?
No, I just think, you're wonderful to work with. I should have finished with those other questions you just did coming out of session, but thank you for letting me work with you.
Oh, thank you for doing it. It's fabulous. You've changed my life there. I tell you, you really have, because it's a real, well, it was, won't be anymore, a real troubling thing for me to have that 2 or 3 times a week thing. It really isn't pleasant at all. As now I just feel like I've had a really good sleep, to be honest, like in those few minutes or whatever it was, half an hour, whatever it was. Yeah. Thank you so much.
So I really hope you enjoyed that demonstration with the amazing Tony as our therapist and Charia as the wonderful, wonderful, highly amusing client. If you'd like to appear in one of these demos, just drop me a comment below this video or send me a DM on Facebook or LinkedIn or anywhere like that. If you've got any questions at all about what you've seen in this very, very short, incredible demonstration of advanced controversial theory, advanced conversational hypnotherapy, again, feel free to drop me a comment or send me a message. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again at the next one. Bye now.